Hey, it's Vinny. Today we're talking about Amazon, specifically their advertising and healthcare segments, and why I think this stock is a great investment. Now, Amazon is one of the largest companies in the world already, but it's growing rapidly in this key area of advertising. This is their fastest growing business segment. We're going to look at the details here. And they're also starting to take strides getting into healthcare, which is a $4 trillion industry that definitely could use some disruption and some better efficiencies for sure. So in this video, we're going to look at these two segments and why I think Amazon is a good investment. So Amazon's advertising segment is the third largest digital advertising platform in the world after Google and Facebook, and it's growing very rapidly. It's expected to generate around $45 billion in revenue in 2023. So let's start with the healthcare segment here. So as I said, $4 trillion industry. Amazon's really been making strides into this industry. They're trying to break in. This has been going on, probably started around 2019, so a few years now. But the story really started to take off in 2020 when obviously everyone was stuck at home. All of a sudden, mail order prescriptions saw spikes. There was huge demand. Dr. Vin Gupta, Chief Medical Officer of Amazon Pharmacy, said the company was suddenly inundated with requests. We got approached in 2020 from every state government, public school, sports teams to do logistics. It was at that moment, because the asks kept coming in, that we felt like the world thought of us as a key stakeholder in public health for the first time. We've come to embrace it, he said. So Amazon has a lot of this infrastructure built out that could potentially be a solve for a lot of healthcare problems. They have this huge last mile infrastructure, which I discussed in my last video on Amazon. This last mile infrastructure alone is as big as UPS. UPS is like a $150 billion company. Amazon's just their last mile infrastructure segment they think is worth that much. So they're saying here it could quickly and easily get medical devices and prescription drugs to patients' front doors. That makes a ton of sense. I mean, Amazon has the logistics in place that can ship anything. You accompany that with Amazon's cloud, with AWS. They could find ways to not just serve doctors and health system needs, but also customers by offering virtual visits. So Amazon has made a couple acquisitions. They bought One Medical for $3.9 billion, as well as the pharmacy. And as I wrote in my last article on Amazon over on Substack, which you can check out for free in the description down below, Amazon Pharmacy doubled its active customers in the past year alone, just the last year. Things are starting to take off here. I see the flywheel starting to form. We're very early. This is still going to take years to play out on the healthcare end. We're going to talk about the advertising next, which is already playing out massively. They're already the third biggest in the advertising spend. So obviously, their entrance into the space can cause a lot of disruption, affect the broader healthcare ecosystem, and I'm all for it because this is a broken industry that really needs to be fixed. So could obviously be hugely profitable for the company if they can pull this off. And, you even think about things like Amazon's ownership of Whole Foods, and could that play a role in this? Finding ways to connect patients to healthy foods that would improve health outcomes. Almost like what healthcare should be, preventative, not, treating these things after the fact, after we've destroyed people's bodies, putting them on a pill a day for the rest of their life. That's basically like putting a Band-Aid over, a much deeper issue. And, this is something I'm thinking about here. Could this not be a thing already? We have some sort of tracking, some sort of healthcare system where you could get cheaper insurance rates if you actually take care of yourself, if you're exercising, if you're, you can log what you're eating. I mean, there's so many ways you can go with this. Incentivize people to be healthy. One Medical had already, for instance, been thinking about how it might be able to influence members' dietary or exercise habits. So sounds like they're on the right track. I mean, I think that would be a net benefit, right? Reward the people who are doing the right thing and encourage people to do the right thing. And, again, Whole Foods, as I wrote in the article here, it remains a leader in the organic grocery space. So the two of those things definitely go hand in hand, eating healthy foods, staying healthy. It's funny, you're seeing this whole disruption with the Ozempic drug, and how all these processed food companies have been like tanking. There's great fear out there that like people aren't going to want to drink Coca-Cola anymore. People aren't going to want all this junk that at the end of the day, we're just putting poison in ourselves. My God, this stuff gets me really fired up. But seriously, it's not that hard. Like, you eat processed crap. Your inputs equal your outputs. Garbage in, garbage out. If we could solve for that, you get people eating healthier foods, all of a sudden the healthcare industry, which is like our biggest expense in the US, becomes a lot cheaper. So that's probably idealistic. Obviously, this is going to, obviously we're years out from any substantial changes, but This sounds like a way to move in the right direction. We're trying to make things that should be easy, easier. Has anybody tried to book an appointment lately, by the way? Healthcare in the US is a disaster, absolute disaster. It's taken me months to just get a routine dental visit scheduled. Like, it's just ridiculous. This whole industry is ripe for disruption. Who better to capitalize on it than Amazon? One Medical, Whole Foods, just right there. There's so much they can do. Amazon Pharmacy. I think it's kind of a no-brainer. This is a great vertical for them to move into. You're kind of seeing Apple move into this as well, getting more interested in healthcare with the watches that are measuring things. It's great and all, but I don't think it's really moving the needle. Amazon can really change things, I think, because of their infrastructure network they've built out over years. All right, let's go to the next segment here. Advertising. E-commerce Godzilla. Amazon's now an advertising monster. There's an article from Investors Business Daily. So Amazon's ad revenue is projected to maybe bring in $45 billion in revenue this year. As I mentioned in my article here, it's been the fastest growing segment. As you can see, fifth line from the bottom here, advertising brought in almost $11 billion of revenue in the last quarter, up 22% year over year. Just under 10 billion the quarter before that. So they're encroaching on 45 billion for the year here potentially. So this is not something that they're really known for, but I think Wall Street, you got the article here, they're starting to catch on, right? Because the whole story with Amazon, it's been all about AWS. Everyone's hyper fixated on that, which AWS is great too. But this is a big one here. So they're bringing ads to Prime Video. Amazon's advertising business has been its fastest growing division for the past 2 quarters. So further, ads sales managed to top Amazon subscription revenue, which includes the $15 a month you pay for Prime. Analysts are projecting for the third quarter that they're about to report in the next week or two here, which if you're interested in that, don't forget to subscribe. Oh, geez, I can't even talk. Subscribe to the channel because I will definitely be covering Amazon's earnings, Tesla earnings, maybe a few more as well. Let me know which ones you guys are interested in the comments below. So Amazon's ad revenue reported 31 billion in revenue in 2021, 37 billion last year, and they're projecting around 45.7 billion this year. It's growing very fast. They're catching up to Google and Meta, which they're going to talk about right here. Let's get into that, which I think is very interesting because they basically have a duopoly. Amazon took Google's extremely successful business of advertising on search activity and put it on steroids, said Andrew Lipsman. Amazon is doing that while already in the context of an e-commerce site. People are there presumably to shop and buy, so ads can be really effective, especially for brands that are struggling to otherwise get visibility. You're on Amazon shopping. They know what you want. They're giving you the ads accordingly, and they've got a higher success rate than ads that Meta and Google are putting out because they have to shoot from the hip a little bit more. I mean, Amazon it's just a no-brainer here that this is their next vertical to move into. Google and Meta have long held what market watchers call a duopoly in digital advertising. Google dominating search-based ads, Meta leads social media spending with Instagram and Facebook. But Amazon has cemented itself as third in the market by commanding retail search media or advertising within a shopping platform. So it's estimated Amazon will capture about 13% of US digital ad spend this year, up from 7.4% in 2019. So it's doubled in just a few short years here. Meanwhile, Alphabet expected to grab an estimated 27% of digital ad spend, while Meta gets just under 20%, 19.5%. So Amazon, 13%, I mean, they're catching up quick. And you've kind of seen Google and Meta, their growth is just not there. It's stagnating. They're not growing at this rate. Their ad revenue has, when you get so big, it's hard to keep growing, obviously. But Amazon doubled their hold on this market in the last few years. Google and Meta are not growing at high percentages. And it gets even better because Google feels threatened. They think that Amazon's advertising is a clear threat. Jerry Dishler, VP for Google's ad products, said the company is losing share to new entrants in retail search. Amazon, get this, is able to get better data than we are on the effectiveness of their advertising. So they are definitely, I think, quickly becoming the third player in this industry. So it's going to go from a duopoly to a triopoly, perhaps here. The margins on the ad business can be very, very high over time, says RBC analyst Brad Erickson. They're high today, of course, but they can and should continue to ramp. So this is a great complement to Amazon's core business. Obviously, their sales here, if I pull up, retail still makes up the overwhelming majority. However, these other segments are growing, and taking up pretty substantial chunks of the overall pie, which I think is good, diversifying away from, just the online stores, which are low margin businesses, right? I think the margins will increase. They're making the right investments. I've talked about all this, just going from a centralized to a regional distribution center system. The investments in Rivian, getting these electric vans out. They're definitely, you're going to see these margins increase, but retail margins can only go so high, right? You're not selling software, but this is a great way to complement that, right? Amazon's bringing a ton of revenue. They can just slowly optimize, slowly increase the prices, and all of a sudden, like, their free cash flow one day will just explode. Further, Amazon's striking partnerships with other online platforms, including Pinterest, to display its ads outside of Amazon proper. They're bringing more ads to the Prime Video service. US, UK, Germany, and Canada are going to start seeing limited advertisements on video services starting early next year. You'll be able to opt into a plan paying an additional $2.99 a month to avoid that. And analysts are liking this idea. They're predicting it could unlock substantial revenue. Amazon has access to user data that can improve ad targeting and measurement. So it's all sounding great, right? The only con with Amazon right now is this FTC lawsuit, which probably not going to go anywhere. I mean, the FTC doesn't really have the greatest track record over the last few years. I think just about everything they've tried to do with big tech has completely flopped. But we'll see what happens there. I'm not too worried about it. And also, interestingly enough, it's noted here, analyst Tom Forte noted, Alphabet and Meta have outperformed the Nasdaq since the government sued both of them for antitrust back in 2020. So they're still outperforming. They performed great after these antitrust issues arose. And like it says here, I agree, there seem to be considerable holes to poke in the FTC's arguments. I just don't know how well it's going to hold up. Amazon probably ends up paying some fine, they settle, and it goes back to business as usual. But we'll have to see what happens there. But yeah, I think that, as you can see here, advertising is the fastest growing segment for Amazon. And I think in a few years, it's highly probable you start to see healthcare be a bigger and bigger chunk of Amazon's revenue. I think that makes sense as the next vertical, right? As I said, they've got One Medical, they've got pharmacy, they've got virtual, they have all the infrastructure laid out to get people their physical needs met, whether that's in-person doctor's visits, whether that's shipping people their medications, their prescriptions. Hopefully, if they go to Whole Foods, we can get people off of all these prescription medications. And who knows what else they've got in the pipe here. But I like the story. I look forward to hearing what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Vinny from the Investment Club. I'll see you guys next time.